Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video I'm going to re-upload the life and the theological works of Saint Jerome in my new video. Subscribe to my channel to see more updates and new content below. Saint Jerome was born in 345. Most of the saints are remembered for some outstanding virtue or devotion which they practiced, but Jerome is frequently remembered for his bad temper. It is true that he had a very bad temper and could use a vitriolic pen, but his love for God and his Son Jesus Christ was extraordinarily intense. Anyone who thought error was an enemy of God and truth, and Saint Jerome went after him or her with his mighty and sometimes sarcastic pen. He was above all a scripture scholar, translating most of the Old Testament from the Hebrew. Jerome also wrote commentaries, which are a great source of scriptural inspiration for us today. He was an avid student, a rough scholar, a prodigious letter writer, and consultant to monk, bishop, and pope. Saint Augustine said of him, "What Jerome is ignorant of no mortal has ever known." Saint Jerome is particularly important for having made a translation of the Bible, which came to be called the Vulgate. It is not the most critical edition of the Bible, but its acceptance by scholars says no man before Jerome or among his commentaries and very few men for many centuries afterwards were so well qualified to do the work. The Council of Trent called for a new and corrected edition of the Vulgate and declared it the authentic text to be used in the Church. In order to be able to do such work, Jerome prepared himself well. He was a master of Latin, Greek, Hebrew, and Chaldaic. He began his studies at his birthplace, Stridon in Dalmatia, now known as Croatia. After his preliminary education, he went to Rome, the center of learning at that time, and thence to Trier, Germany, where the scholar was very much in evidence. He spent several years in each place, always trying to find the very best teachers. He once served as private secretary to Pope Damasus. After these preparatory studies, he traveled extensively in Palestine, marking each spot of Christ with an outpouring of devotion. Mystic that he was, he spent 5 years in the desert of Chalcis so that he might give himself up to prayer, penance, and study. Finally, he settled in Bethlehem, where he lived in the cave believed to have been the birthplace of Christ. Jerome died in Bethlehem, and the remains of his body now lie buried in the Basilica of Saint Mary Major in Rome. His death is on September 30th, 420. His feast day is celebrated on September 30th, the date when he died, and Saint Jerome is the patron saint of librarians, scholars, and translators.